Every gladiator, whether slave or free, whether noble-born or dragged from a quarry, they all swear the same oath before they walked out. The vow says you endure everything, whether you're bound, beaten, burned, or slain. In a world where honor means nothing, that oath is the only thing that does.
That's from the Complete Gladiator's Handbook. This book builds an entire campaign framework around gladiatorial combat, stables, training schools, fan culture, gambling mechanics, fame tracking, escape plots, arena politics, and then tells the DM, straight up, that a campaign devoted to gladiators will have a markedly different flavor from anything else in D&D. And they were right. Now, the book delivers that flavor two different ways. You can run a full gladiator campaign. Think of it like the Thri-Kreen adventure in A Taste of Fear, which I talked about in an earlier video. Or you can use it as a story toolkit. Your party rolls into Urik or Tyr, and suddenly the arena becomes the backdrop for an entire story arc. Either way, the book gives you everything you need, starting with who's actually in the stable. Now, most people hear darksun gladiator and picture a Mull. Fair enough, Rikus is just about the poster boy for the setting. But every race on Athas fights in these arenas. The book dedicates an entire section to how each one performs. Dwarves whose focus makes them relentless, but whose legs can't keep up with mounted opponents. Elves who are fast and fragile, half-giants who dominate through mass alone. Each race gets strengths, weaknesses, weapon preferences, and tactical notes for how they function as partners. From Thri-Kreen to halflings, the arena pulls from the full roster, and those racial dynamics create their own drama. Thri-Kreen are known to possess a fondness for elf flesh, and a Thri-Kreen could be expected to keep his desire in check for only so long if locked in a slave pen with an elf. Once you know who's in the stable, the question becomes what kind of gladiator they are. The handbook gives you 8 kits, and each one changes how the game plays at the table. The Jazzed is a theatrical killer dancer. At 3rd level, they learn the Dance of Whirling Blades, a full sprint acrobatic attack that doubles their attacks for the round. And when they win, they don't just walk off. The Jazzed circle the arena holding a small net while the crowd throws coins. They catch them mid-backflip. Any coin that hits the sand gets thrown back into the stands. That sets the crowd into a frenzy. The blind fighters started as comic relief. Blind or blindfolded gladiators would flail around the arena, killing their own stablemates, wandering into each other's weapons. Most of them died, but survivors emerged who could center their senses and find opponents over the roar of the crowd. They developed 3 ranges of inner sight: close, medium, and long, each purchased with proficiency slots. In Gulg, the crowd falls silent for blind fighter matches, then erupts with every blow struck, then falls silent again. In every other city, the crowd screams the location of the opponents, and neither fighter knows if the information's meant to help them or their enemy. The Convict kit brands your face with your crime. Bright colors, visible from the stands. 15,000 people know what you did before the fight starts. Released convicts can't find work because everyone in the city's seen their face at the games. The Reaver hunts monsters for the arena. They have an unofficial brotherhood, tracking the most dangerous creatures on Athas. Their proverb? Better to die with the dragon than live without the hunt. Most of them do. But whatever kit you pick, your character doesn't fight alone. They belong to a stable, owned by a noble, a merchant house, or the city itself. Private stables get healers, masseuses, decent food. City-owned gladiators heal themselves or get replaced. The city cares nothing for their comfort. The warriors exist only to provide entertainment for the masses. Poor and complaining gladiators can always be replaced by new recruits fresh picked from the streets. And every stable has rivalries. 2 gladiators feuding, the owner arranges a private non-lethal match on his personal grounds. Guards standing ready, healer on standby. But if one of those rivals gets traded to another owner, they'll eventually meet in the arena. And the book says the crowd is truly in for one of the best fights on Athas. The gladiators don't need to whip themselves into a killing hatred. The sparks are already there. Which city your campaign starts in also changes the entire tone of the game. Urik's Pit of Black Death is a former obsidian mine. The black obsidian heats in the midday sun to over 170 degrees. The sun reflects off the mirror-like surface and temporarily blinds fighters. Scattered through the arena are massive black pillars covered in chipped obsidian points, moved to new positions before each match. Dragon matches happen at high noon when the pit's at peak temperature. Combatants lose twice as much water as normal. Bare skin touching the walls takes 1d4 burn damage. Balic's Criterion is the opposite. White marble, rectangular. The floor is made of 10-foot hexagonal columns, each one a different height from its neighbor. The whole surface pitches and rises like desert terrain. They shift the columns periodically so the arena never plays the same way twice. Smaller, quicker fighters dominate here. If your party's passing through Balic and you want one arena session that feels completely different, this is the one. Tyr Stadium was the largest structure in the city before Balic built his ziggurat. 300 feet long, the sand on the arena floor has a permanent reddish hue. The book says the color is a result of the blood of thousands who have fallen here. The upper tiers are called the Sun Seats, open to the general populace. Drunk fans in the Sun Seats play a game called Razorwing. They pick up an opposing supporter, pass him overhead hand to hand, and throw him down to the arena floor. The front rows get crushed when the crowd surges forward in a kill frenzy. Organized chants give a gladiator a +1 to attacks. Chants against you impose -1 to attacks and damage. Fans paint city walls with drawings of their favorites. Children follow gladiators' progress so obsessively that some deface public buildings in defiance of the Templars. Sorcerer Kings arrive late on purpose. The book says fashionably late, specifically to whip the crowd into a frenzy before the first match. And this applies whether you're running a full Gladiator campaign or just dropping a single arena session into a broader adventure. The crowd's a mechanic. Treat it like one. I want to stop here for a second, because I think the bookmakers might be the most underrated thing in this entire book. All of them are required to be Psionists. They coordinate odds telepathically while collecting bets from the crowd. 10% of each wager goes to the bookmakers. Of that, 90% funds the arena and the king's coffers. The remaining 10 is the bookmaker's fee. And if a bookmaker's caught cheating, the punishment is armed combat against a champion gladiator. Since most bookmakers can't fight, it's a match held early in the day. Every fantasy setting has gambling. This is a telepathically coordinated odds network operating in real time across a stadium of 10,000 people. Now, if you're starting a Gladiator campaign, the 2-week training program is your player's origin story. Run it. Make the players survive it together. By the time they come out the other side, they're a party. The 2-week course includes sparring on raised platforms surrounded by stone spikes, dodging live arrows, tightrope walking over fire pits, and an obstacle course the book describes with the quiet admission that some gladiators who enter never emerge. These deaths can't be traced or blamed on any one person. The death can be written off as an excess of enthusiasm in training. If you want to remove an NPC gladiator quietly, this is where you do it. Now, if you've made it this far, you can probably tell I love this book. It builds one of the most detailed frameworks in all of 2nd edition. 7 arenas, 8 kits, a fame tracking system with dozens of modifiers, stable politics, patron dynamics, trading mechanics, crowd psychology. And then it hands you all of that and says, go. No starter adventure. The assumption was that DMs built their own campaigns from parts. There's a section called the Arena as Court, when 2 Templars can't murder each other through the usual channels. Subversion, poison, backstabbing, double dealing. They settle it in the arena. Best story in the book. 2 of Sorcerer Queen Abalach Ray's favorite Templars and Rom accused each other of treason. She made them fight. One was an accomplished spellcaster. The other had extremely powerful wild psionic talents. The fight was short and vicious. One was dead before the 2 undisintegrated halves of her body hit the ground. Then the queen called the winner forward. In one of her rare personal appearances at the arena, Abalach Ray pointed a single finger at the victor and exploded her body into 1,000 pieces across the arena floor. The crowd fell silent. The queen announced she tolerated no rumors of overthrow or anarchy. Then she left. Mic drop moment. The book says she'd achieved all she desired. She ended a rivalry, stopped a rumor, and regained the fear of her people. There's also a chapter called Social Life. It says gladiators are both revered and despised. Free men look down on them because it's traditionally the occupation of slaves, but they revere them for their exploits at the same time. Among nobles, gladiators are tolerated as amusements and tools for keeping the rabble pacified. But the book says most nobles are secretly enthralled with the gladiator's sheer physical prowess. The gladiator lives life to its fullest, always staring death in the face. Each moment could be his last, and so he's determined to make the most of each that he has remaining. Some nobles can't resist. The book says several have been known to enter the arena and immediately become social outcasts. Their property seized, their titles stripped. But compared to the thrill of the arena, none of that matters. Only after the ex-noble discovers that the scheming and betrayal he thought he'd left behind still affects him personally does he realize he's thrown away his life. And then comes the darkest sentence in this entire book. The disloyalty he left behind for the glory of the arena merely wears a different form here. There is no escape. Not for the slave, not for the noble. The arena is Athas in miniature. And that oath to endure through everything, whether bound, beaten, burned, or slain, reads differently once you know what everything actually means on this world. It's only among other gladiators that gladiators find full acceptance, and sometimes not even then.